This was Craig Titus before, and this is Craig Titus now.
I don't understand what you want me to do.
We'll talk to you when we get downstairs.
He was a bodybuilding champion. He had the looks, the fame, and all the money in the world. With that came a massive ego and a temper that couldn't be controlled. Craig Titus had this sort of aura about him. At the time, he was practically invincible. However, a love triangle and a dark secret behind his picture-perfect marriage would turn this pro bodybuilder into a brutal murderer. So what caused this man to commit such heinous acts and get locked up for 55 years? This is the disturbing case of Craig Titus. Craig Titus was born on January 14, 1965 in Wyandotte, Michigan. Growing up, he was always an athletic kid. Craig played football in his junior year of high school, but had to quit simply because he was too small. From there, he transitioned into wrestling, where he actually became the state champ in his 132-pound weight class. And this would ultimately lead him into bodybuilding. The gratification he got from gaining weight and becoming muscular at the same time soon turned him into an addict. He put on more than 40 pounds of muscle within a couple of short years, and fast forward to 1988, Craig would enter his first bodybuilding show. Needless to say, he was so gifted that he actually ended up destroying his competition by winning the middleweight class and the overall title. At this point, Craig started taking bodybuilding really seriously as he saw a massive career in it. He would continue to win shows, get his pro card, and even appear on the Mr. Olympia stage. On top of that, he had this it factor which would land him on countless front covers of bodybuilding magazines, and he was known as the bad boy of the industry. Now, this whole bad boy persona wasn't just a gimmick, because what a lot of people didn't know at the time was that Craig was selling all kinds of steroids and drugs behind the scenes. As his popularity grew, so did his bank account and ego. Many people from that time would say Craig was initially really fun to be around. However, he was beginning to change and turn into a really dark and arrogant person. Now, it was during a fitness competition where he met a woman by the name of Kelly Ryan. He knew from the moment he saw her that he was in love with her. Kelly was known as a sweet and innocent girl, quite opposite to Craig. But she herself was a powerhouse and extremely big in the bodybuilding world. Craig would always give Kelly advances, but because of his bad boy reputation, she would repeatedly decline. However, this wouldn't last too long, because Craig was a persistent man and Kelly would eventually give in.
Kelly the Animal, Ryan Titus.
They ended up getting married and the two became a power couple, propelling each other further into fame, appearing in fitness exposés together and gracing the front cover of magazines over and over again. To the outside world, these two seemed like the perfect American couple, powerful and unstoppable. However, behind closed doors, trouble was brewing and their self-destruction was about to begin. This is where Malissa James catches the eyes of Craig Titus. Malissa was a professional dancer who specialized in ballet, hip-hop, and jazz. She opened up her own dance studio in Florida at the age of 19, however, a bad business deal forced her to close it down. Craig and Malissa hit it off really well. They had a great connection with each other, and knowing that Melissa's business was now in shambles, Craig persuaded her to move to Las Vegas with him.
He kind of painted a picture of she could have a better career if she went there with the dance, and she believed it.
It seemed like the right move to make. After all, Craig and Kelly were extremely popular and very well connected in the industry. For Melissa, this was like being on the fast track to superstardom. So she took a chance and moved in with the two. Now, it's worth mentioning that Melissa and Craig were also having an affair, and in the beginning, it was a life of glitz and glamour under the Las Vegas lights, filled with parties. Melissa was working for them as their live-in assistant. However, things were slowly starting to shift and the dark reality was setting in. Craig and Kelly were constantly in a deep drug-fueled state, and the two would always be paranoid. Melissa claimed that Kelly would often accuse her of stealing. On top of that, she would even complain to her mother about not being paid, and the promises they made her were now broken. Melissa put up with this for 4 months until she realized she couldn't take it anymore. Craig booked Melissa a ticket back home for Christmas, and from there she knew she was done with them and wasn't gonna be coming back. However, Melissa never got on that flight. Just hours before her departure, things got really heated. The three began to have a massive argument, and Melissa threatened to expose the couple. At the time, Craig and Kelly were set to open a clothing store, all the while having a bunch of lucrative contracts going for them. So whatever Melissa was threatening them about would definitely ruin their careers and end anything they had going for them. Things began to escalate even more, and that's when Kelly zapped Melissa with a taser 5 times. From there, Craig entered the picture and gave her a body slam. A bathrobe tie along with a speaker wire was wrapped around her neck, with the top portion of her face being covered with duct tape. Finally, a toxic level of morphine was then injected into her leg. Being in a state of panic, Craig called one of his friends, Anthony Gross, and asked him for a favor. He told Anthony to follow him with his car. All the while, Anthony had no idea what was in the trunk of their Jaguar.
You know, Anthony was a little bit starstruck by Craig Titus, and Craig used that to his advantage to manipulate Anthony Gross.
At around 3:40 in the morning, Kelly Ryan was caught on Walmart's surveillance video buying 7 bottles of lighter fluids. Craig then pulls the Jaguar to the front and the two load up the lighter fluids in the back seat and take off. It's now December 14th, 2005. All of a sudden, the pitch dark desert of Las Vegas gets lit up as a car is fully engulfed in flames. Firefighters reach the scene and put the fire out, and as police are investigating the Jaguar, they find something horrific. Inside the trunk is a badly burnt corpse. Barely recognizable, as the face and fingerprints of this individual were fully gone. However, the only thing they did know was that this body belonged to a female. Next, they find out that the car is registered to Kelly Ryan. So after trying to put 2 and 2 together, they were positive that the body was Kelly herself and that she had been murdered. The police then head on over to Craig's house, getting ready to give him the bad news. And as they knock on the door, much to their surprise, who opens up? None other than Kelly Ryan. And this is where things start to get really sketchy for the cops. As they're telling Kelly about her Jaguar being torched with the body inside of it, Kelly doesn't seem bothered at all. Instead, she proceeds to go off topic and tell police about a major argument her, Craig, and Melissa recently had. Then states that Melissa was stealing from them and had gone missing. Kind of seems odd, right? You had this shocking news of a murder that happened inside your car, and here you are going on a tangent about something completely different? Anyways, Kelly tells detectives that Melissa had left Las Vegas the day before and that she had stolen her Jaguar. As the detectives leave the house, they begin having suspicions that the body they found was actually Malissa James and that Craig and Kelly might have had something to do with it. However, at the time, they couldn't prove anything just yet. Right after the detectives leave, Craig and Kelly decide to do the same and pretty much lock up their house and go on the run. As the investigation continues, detectives discover that Kelly's credit card had been recently used at a Walmart to buy lighter fuel. Police began building a murder case against the couple, all the while 2 of their close friends came out and gave detectives alarming new details.
Well, he first walked in and he said that he had finally got to see somebody, what somebody looks like when they get hit with a taser gun. And he said, you should have seen this girl flop.
He said, yeah, you know, it's really funny. It's like, if you ever want to know how you can kill someone by choking them, I can show you. And I was like, what do you mean you can kill someone by choking them?
So he's saying Melissa has gone, and right after that he's saying, I'll show you how you can kill somebody with a chokehold?
Mm-hmm.
A search warrant was issued, and detectives found more evidence that linked Craig and Kelly to the taser that was used the night of the incident. All of this was enough to get the FBI involved, and now they were on the hunt to find the couple. 9 days had passed and the FBI finally tracked them down in Boston. Kelly was found in a beauty salon getting a pedicure, and Craig was sleeping in his truck just outside the shop. The 2 were arrested on the spot and charged with murder and arson. However, the murder took quite some time to prove because the body was burned so bad that the coroner's legal findings stated Melissa's cause of death was undetermined. Craig's version of the incident was that Melissa OD'd, and the reason the couple decided to torch the car and flee was because they were just simply scared. 2.5 years worth of trials went on until the couple both made plea deals. Craig pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, kidnapping, and arson. All the while, Kelly entered an Alfred plea of battery with a deadly weapon and arson. Now, an Alfred plea meant that she didn't admit guilt, but acknowledged that there was enough evidence to convict her. Subsequently, Kelly got sentenced to 6 to 17 years in prison and was just released on October 24, 2017. And as for Craig Titus, he was sentenced to 21 to 55 years and is still serving time to this day. Prosecutors believe the motive in all of this was an affair and jealousy.